All right. So first, before we get started, is anybody here currently using OneNote to take notes?
I have used it. I haven't used it recently, but I have used it.
Okay. All right. Is anybody using any form of electronic note taking?
No.
Maybe Evernote or something like that? No? Okay. And this is a very kind of comical question here, but how many of you guys have ever opened OneNote on your computers?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, it's, I don't know when OneNote first started showing up, but it's been here for a while, at least the last several years. And I didn't start using OneNote until it's been about 3 years ago. I was fortunate enough to go to a product release event in Redmond, and we were at the Microsoft campus, and I noticed that all the folks that worked at Microsoft were using OneNote, and I, probably a lot like you guys, had seen it, but I never really opened it and didn't know much about it. So I figured while I was up there at the Microsoft campus, I might as well start using OneNote to take notes, and really kind of haven't looked back. So, it's a little bit of a change when we start thinking about taking electronic notes over paper notes. And at the end of this little meeting here, I'll offer some tips or advice on how to transition. It's kind of like when you're transitioning from using a paper calendar to a electronic calendar. It's one of those things that just does kind of take a little bit of a process, and ultimately I think it just takes you, the individual, just kind of making the commitment. Okay, I'm going to start taking electronic notes over paper notes. So we'll get into that here in just a little bit. And much like when I've done Outlook trainings in the past, it's easy for me to show you some things in OneNote and show you what buttons do what, and give you some just some insight here. But we're all individuals, and we all manage notes. And just like I was saying in Outlook, you're going to manage your email, and you're going to manage your calendars and your task lists and all that different than I am, and probably different than anybody else in your office. So when talking about taking notes, I can just kind of show you what I do or give you some advice based on what I've found to be successful, but ultimately it falls back on you, the individual, and how you take notes, how you organize those notes and things like that. So it's a little bit of a challenge in doing a session like this, because I can't, I'm not at all trying to say you should take notes this way. That's going to be completely up to you. So everything that I show you or go through here is really just going to kind of be advice or things that I've kind of learned along the way. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and we're going to go through just the basic OneNote layout. The unfortunate thing, before I pop this the OneNote screen up here, is since I have been using OneNote, it may not look exactly the same way that yours does. There's been a few things that I've changed as far as layout, not many, and I'll try to point those out to you so that when you open the OneNote application on your desktop, it doesn't look, completely odd or something like that. So I'll do my best to point those out when I do see them. So, all right, I'm going to jump over here and share my screen with you guys. All right, and can you guys see the OneNote application should say there aren't any sections here is what's on the screen currently. You guys seeing that okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Shannon. All right, so starting off with the ribbon, this being that this is a Microsoft product, it's going to look very similar. I loosely call it a hybrid of Publisher and Microsoft Word. Not really, but it does have some features or some at least some looks from both of those. And the first thing that we'll notice is up here at the top, the ribbon. We've seen this ribbon. I don't think it's been called the ribbon the whole time that Microsoft Office Suite has existed, but I know over the last couple of years they have named this top area here the ribbon. When you first open OneNote, just like any other Office product, the ribbon may look a little more like this than having all the commands fully expanded. So this would just be the tabbed view, and again, I can't remember what the default setting is when you first open OneNote, but it may look something like this. And if you wanted to change that, which I just don't know the commands well enough to have all this hidden. I found that with the tab showing, I tend to find things a little bit better. But you can adjust this view at any time that you may want. And if you look over here on the right hand side, just to the right of the question mark or the help icon, you have this ribbon display option. So if you click that, you have three options that you can go with. You can auto hide the ribbon, which will really just get it all out of the way. And then if you wanted to access the ribbon, you could move your mouse up to the very top of the screen and that ribbon would pop down for you. The show tabs, that's the current view that we have, and that just means that it's just going to show these tabs here for you to interact with. And my preferred method is, or preferred view is, the show tabs and commands. Again, this just gives me all of the different features and all the different actions that I can do without me having to go and kind of, go tab to tab searching for everything. So again, this is just a personal preference. However you guys would like to have it set up, feel free to play with that and adjust it as you may need it. The other thing that's a little bit different is the notebooks view. Right now I have my notebooks, every open notebook that I have is listed here on the far left-hand side. The view that you are probably seeing, again, I can't remember what the default is, but I think it's this everything's kind of collapsed. So if you wanted to see open notebooks, you would have this view over here, or this button, and you could click this little downward facing arrow to show you all of your open notebooks. If you wanted to pin it like I had it, then you could just click this little push pin icon, and that will pin all of your open notebooks there for you. So it's really, again, just kind of a personal preference deal as to how you want to work. So the other areas that we see, and we'll get into adding a new notebook and kind of starting from scratch, but this area here that's kind of a bluish gray shade where it says there aren't any sections here, this is the note-taking area, and we'll get into that when we create us a new notebook here in just a minute. But this is where all the magic's going to happen. This is where you're going to take all of your notes and put all of your screenshots and things like that. And then over here on the far right-hand side is going to be a list of pages that are contained in each section. So when we create a new notebook, you're going to have, or for my view, I'm going to have the notebook name listed over here on the left-hand side. At the top, I'm going to have the different sections that are contained in that notebook. And then under each section, I'm going to have different pages that are in that notebook. So I'll start off here just by going and adding a notebook. And to do that, I will click on the tab at the top that says File. And then I'm going to go down to the second option, which is New. And for me, I am going to have it stored. I'm going to select to store this notebook on my computer. And, this is all. Terry, I muted your audio there. We were getting some feedback. So anyway, I went into New Notebook or File and then clicked New, and I'm going to save this on my computer. Now, the way that I have my files set up, and this isn't really a OneDrive class, but if you guys have any questions on this, I'll be glad to answer, or when you start working with OneNote after this session, if you have questions, you can just shoot me a little message. But OneNote, really, you could take notes and have them stored just on your computer locally, and it work fine. The only problem is you would have to have your computer obviously to see the list of notebooks and things like that. OneNote really works well when you can get it into OneDrive. The reason for that is they've got some very powerful and rich OneNote apps for Android, for iPhone, for iPad. Really any of the main phones and tablets out there, you can get a OneNote application for. By storing your OneNote files in OneDrive, you have access to those OneNote files from any of those devices. So again, if you stored the OneNote files just on your computer and didn't get them into the cloud or into OneDrive, you would lose some of the functionality of being able to access those files across your different devices. So for me personally, the way that I have my files set up is every one of my files automatically syncs to OneDrive. So even when I say that I'm going to store or create this new notebook and place it on my computer, even though I'm placing it on the computer, because that file is contained in my OneDrive file, it's going to ultimately end up syncing on OneDrive. So the name I'm going to give this is, and it could be anything. You know, when I first started using OneNote, I didn't really, I don't want to say I did it wrong, but I didn't think about, you know, the sections and the pages and sections. I didn't think about the whole picture. What I've started trying to do as far as creating notebooks is making more of a, you know, my notebook names are going to be more general. Like, for example, you know, the 6 regional IT folks, we meet once a month. So I've got one notebook that's just named regional IT meetings. And then that I have different sections for our different meetings and things like that. So, you know, again, whatever makes sense for you. But for this example, I'm just going to name this Thursday morning OneNote. Okay, and if I wanted to, I can click to create in a different folder, and I'm clicking that just to make sure that I am creating it in the folder that I want. As you can see here, I'm storing it on my computer. Even though it says SkyDrive, it's OneDrive. It's in the registry of my computer. It's named SkyDrive because I transitioned when they changed the name from SkyDrive to OneDrive, so don't pay too much attention to that. And then I created my own folder inside of that called OneNote Notebooks. And they are showing up here as web links. Even though there's a true copy of this OneNote file stored on my computer, in this folder, they're showing up as web links because they're ultimately synced with OneDrive. So that just means that that they are online, and so don't let that throw you off too much. If this icon here doesn't look like a OneNote icon, that's what's going on there. So when I click create, all right, incompatible Office products installed on your machine. I haven't seen that before, so I'm just going to kind of ignore that. I don't know what that is, but it never fails when you're trying to give a demonstration that something odd is going to happen. So either way, our notebook was created. You can see down here at the very bottom of my list, I've got Thursday morning OneNote. It's kind of cut off there. You can't see the entire title. If I wanted to, I could probably expand this window or this view here to see that title a little more. But as I said earlier, this is the actual area where you're going to take all of your notes. We get a default section here. Every time we create a new notebook, it places at least one section here in our new notebook, and it's just called New Section. If I wanted to change that name, I could right-click and select Rename. So I'm going to name this, I'm just going to name it First Section. All right, if I wanted to add another section right off the bat, I could do that just by clicking this little plus icon. And you can see that the different section, the tabs, and the kind of the framework is going to have a different color just to help me differentiate between sections. And again, if I wanted to rename this, I could name it, I'm going to name it Second Section. Okay. So I've got 2 sections going on now, and we can see that each section has an untitled page in it. Again, that's default behavior from OneNote. When it starts, or when you create a section, or when a section is created for you, it's going to put at least one page in there so that you have something. If I right-clicked and deleted this, then you would see the this section contains no pages, or some kind of little message like that. It's not a big deal. But it's going to remain untitled until I give it a title, which the title area is right here at the very top left, and it gives me the date and the time below it, which is really nice. You know, if you're, I like that aspect. You can go into the view and you can turn, you can hide the page title if you wanted to. I personally like having it just so I can, you know, perhaps I've named 2 different pages the same thing, or for the example that I used of our regional IT meetings, if I have, you know, monthly meeting as a title, I can look at the date and see when that monthly meeting actually happened. So I'm going to give this a title. I'm just going to name it First Page. I'm not being very creative when it comes to titling things this morning. But you can see as I typed and added the title here of first page, it also added that over here in the page section. So I didn't have to do anything to rename this. Now you can also see as I'm mousing over this page section, I get this little plus icon. If I click that plus icon, then it just simply adds another page for me. I'll name this second page. Now I could also add a page by clicking the add page icon. And if I do that, it's going to add, the default behavior by clicking this button is that it's going to put a new page at the very end of my page list. The good thing about this little plus icon that pops up when I mouse over is that I could put a page anywhere I wanted. So let's say that, you know, I made a mistake or I needed to add another page in between first and second page. I could move my mouse in between those two, get the little plus icon, click that, and I'll just name this first page part 2. Okay. So when I click the add page with over here on the top right, then you can see it defaults by adding that page to the end. And I'm going to name this end page. Okay. Now, just because it added it to the end doesn't mean I can't move it. If I come to this page list and I just left click on that end page, you can see that my cursor becomes kind of a directional crosshair. So that will allow me to drag it anywhere I want to drag it. So I could take it all the way to the top and make that end page now become my first page if I wanted to do that. I'm going to make it, put it back here at the bottom. And another option that you have here, you know, a lot of times I'll create pages and then I'll have sub pages under that page. So if you wanted to have sub pages, for example, if my first page that I created, and I'm just going to add a little bit of content here, this is the parent page. Okay, so I've got my first page, which is the parent page. If I click on the first page part 2 title here and just do a right click, of course I have several options: renaming, deleting, cutting, copying, all that stuff. But the thing I want to call your attention to here is make subpage. So if I click that, then we can see the first thing that we noticed is it indents first page part 2 underneath the first page part 1. So now it's a subpage of the parent page that's just above it. And you can see as I mouse over the first page title here, I get this little upward facing arrow over here on the far right hand side. If I click that, then it simply hides any sub pages underneath it. Okay, so we can hide those and get those out of the way. If we wanted to, we can leave them expanded however we want to do that. If you're putting your, if you create pages and things like that, if you happen to be using a MacBook, that's one of the features that you're not going to have in the OneNote application for the Mac, is the ability to have these, or as of right now, you're not going to have the ability to hide those sub pages and open them back up. So I don't know if any of you guys may be using a Mac at home or have one for work, but either way, you're going to lose that functionality. So as far as the tabs and the pages go, you can have as many as you want. You can go, you know, you could have a complete list going all the way down of just different pages within each section, so you're not limited there. A couple of other buttons, again, I want to call your attention to, actually just one more at this time, is this little full page view icon. So it's a kind of a diagonal bidirectional arrow here. If I click that button, then it gets everything, the ribbon, my notebook list, and everything out of the way so that the only thing that I'm seeing is my note-taking area. Now, I can still get to all that stuff. In fact, if I come over here to my section drop-down, then not only can I look at my different pages, but I can look at the different sections that these pages are in, and I can also switch notebooks from this area if I wanted to. If I needed to get to my ribbon, if I just click on this little ellipsis icon right here, then my ribbon's going to be displayed. And when I click out of it, it hides it again for me. So this is a way that if you're in a meeting or you're taking notes, that you can get rid of all the distractions, if you will, that OneNote may offer and just get right into the note taking. When you're done, if you want to go back to the default view, then you could just click this the bidirectional arrow again. You can see when I mouse over it, it says normal view, and it'll take me back to my normal view. Now, the note-taking area, this is where, I don't want to say it threw me off a little bit, but maybe we have to shift our way of thinking, as this does resemble Microsoft Word quite a bit. We're used to, in that environment, clicking in a document area and the cursor kind of defaulting to starting on the left-hand side so that we can type left to right. Down here in the note area for OneNote, we can click anywhere and start typing. So you can see anywhere I click, it's going to put my cursor. This is kind of resembles the behavior that we would see in Publisher more than Microsoft Word. So I'm going to click just kind of down here right in the middle of the page. And as I start typing, you can see that not only is my text here in the middle of the page, but it's also framed by this border. Now, if I click off of that, then you don't really see that framing until I mouse over it again. And if I click inside this and I mouse over the very top of that frame, then I can move this note anywhere. So let's say, for example, I was over here taking notes, and then I wrote something over here, and I thought, well, I really need to get that over here under this note. I could move it over there if I wanted to do it that way. So, or you could move it out of the way if you wanted to do that. So you really have free reign of anything that you want to do here in the note-taking body. So before I move on, are there any questions so far on just the general layout, on creating new notebooks, or creating sections, or creating pages?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to get rid of this note here and get rid of this little note here as well, and kind of start from new. So there's several different ways that you can, or several different note types that you can take. My default, again, this personal preference here for me, when I start taking notes, I'm a big fan of bullet points. I always default, my notes are always listed in some type of bullet point. So if I click on in the home tab of our ribbon, and then here under the basic text formatting tools, I can select a little bullet point list, and I can just start typing my notes. And if I hit enter and tab, then it's going to function just like we would expect a bulleted list to work. So you can keep going, sub bullets all the way down. Again, bullet points just help me visualize notes a little bit better. So the first type of note that we have here is just simple typing text. Nothing very special about this, but it's the first type. The second type, and this is, let me get out of that down here. This is something that is really nice when you're working with OneNote on a tablet, and that's handwriting. OneNote has a very powerful handwriting tool, and not just the way that it recognizes handwriting, but also the ability to search handwriting. So being that I'm on my PC here and I don't really have a trackpad that I can handwrite on, I'm going to use my mouse, which means that my handwriting is going to look even worse using my mouse than it would if I was actually handwriting. And to do that, I'm going to go into the Draw tab here at the top, and I'm just going to select this very first pen. Okay, so I've got this pen selected, and you may not be able to see it very well, but now my cursor has become a little dot instead of a actual pointer, and I'm just going to type the word, as bad as it's going to look with my mouse, handwriting. That's not too bad so far. Okay, so handwritten. Now, if I don't, when I'm done using my mouse, and again, you wouldn't really do this in your PC unless you really prefer to do handwritten notes with your mouse. But when you're done inking, and you can use these pens for different things, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. But when you're done, you want to make sure you click on the type icon here on the far left-hand side, because if not, when I navigate back to my home tab, I would still have that little dot instead of my true cursor. So I'll click on the type here to get my cursor back. The next type of note that I want to show you, I'm just going to click over here in this margin. You know, there's a lot of times that we're going to be in meetings or maybe in a training, and you know, we want to take notes while we're also recording the speaker. You know, this is something I wish I would have used a little bit more in college, but I didn't, and I haven't used it much since I've started using OneNote, but I think it's a very powerful tool, and that's going to be audio notes. Now, you can do audio and video recordings and have them play right here within OneNote. I'm not going to do a video recording, but it would work very much the same way. I'm going to do audio recording, and to do that, I just place my cursor wherever I need to, and I will select Record Audio here. I went to the Insert tab, and then over here in Recording, I'm just going to click on Record Audio. And as soon as I click Record Audio, it starts recording. So right now, it is recording everything that I am saying and will be saying until I go here into the ribbon and click the stop button. So with this recording, I can move this box kind of out of the way, and then I can go back over here and start typing or taking my notes if I wanted to while that recording is going. So that means as the recording's going, I can continue to write my capture my handwritten notes. And then at the end, when everything is done, I can go back and listen to that as I'm reviewing my notes or things like that. Now, when you're done, if you just, or if you needed to pause, let's say you're in a meeting and the speaker takes a break or has some technical difficulties and can't get things going correctly, which I think I've been there many times, then you could just hit the pause button, and then you could restart the recording when you wanted to. And you can see here that it's when I hit the pause again, it started playing. If I hit the stop button, then the recording is done. To play that recording back, I would simply just click over here. And as I do that, you see this little quick access toolbar, which if I clicked play, it would start playing. I'm not going to do that, but it would start playing for you. So that note, that audio note will live here in this note as long as you don't delete it. So, so we've got our handwritten notes, we've got our simple type text notes, we've got audio notes. This could also be a video note if we wanted to do that. And then lastly, it really isn't a type of note, but it's definitely something that I've used quite often, and that's taking screenshots and importing those into a OneNote file. So to show you an example of that, I'm going to open up Internet Explorer here, and when we open up OneNote, we automatically get this little send to OneNote box show up for us. Now, if you don't get this send to OneNote tool show up, then if you go into your View tab and then click right here on Send to OneNote tool, it will open. The default behavior, I'm pretty sure about this, the default behavior is to have this tool automatically open anytime you open OneNote. But if you don't see it, then you can go into OneNote and open that tool from here. But basically what this OneNote tool is, let me get Internet Explorer back up here. Basically what this OneNote tool is, it's if you've ever used the snipping tool, and Margie, I'm going to mute you there. We're getting some background noise. If you've ever used the snipping tool that comes on Windows operating systems, which I know a lot of you have, I use it very often. It's very close to, in fact, it's really no different than what that is. So I can take a screen clipping, I can send a link page. So you can see here it's got the Internet Explorer icon, and it's indicating here that I can send this linked page to OneNote, or I could do a new quick note if I wanted to. Now what I want to do is just take a screen clipping. So when I click that, and I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but my screen kind of gets a pale white overview. It's very similar to if we were using the actual snipping tool. And I'm going to just take a screenshot of this header here for this project I've been working on. And when I get done drawing that box, I get this window that shows up. And this window is basically saying, okay, you've got a screen clip now. What do you want to do with it? Down here at the bottom, I have a couple of options. I can either cancel if maybe I don't like what I just did. I can copy it to a clipboard, which would allow me to paste that that screen clipping that I just took into another note, or I could have it go ahead and send this screen clipping to a location that I want. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So if I go down to the notebook that we created just now, which was the Thursday morning OneNote, click to expand that. I'm going to go into my first section here, and here you can see all the different pages that we've been working on. I can't remember what page that we're on. I think we're on this first page. So I'm going to click that to highlight. So it's going to go in the Thursday morning OneNote notebook. It's going to go in the section called first section, and it's going to put it on the page called first page. And when I'm ready, I can do send to selected location. And I'll go back in my OneNote file, and sure enough, there it is. So it's put it in my OneNote file as an image, and being that it's an image, I have the ability to resize this image any way that I may want. I can make it really small if I wanted to do that. Let me go back over here. I can move this around anywhere I wanted. You know, again, we have kind of free reign of this area here to do whatever we may need to do. So with this image on here, I can do things. You know, I said that there was some other stuff that we could do with the drawing tab. So I did this a lot, or I do this a lot as I'm working on websites and things like that, especially when I'm maybe in a meeting and I'm showing somebody what I've created for them and they're giving me feedback. And so I may have a notebook that has a screenshot of a website here, and I'll go into my drawing tool and select a pen. And then, you know, let's say that they did not like this picture very much. So I can come over here and go back to my type and make a note. Change this image out. So then I can, you know, I can draw on this picture and leave myself notes about what, you know, somebody liked, what they didn't like, different things like that. The other neat thing about this, being that I inserted this from a website, by default, it will automatically put a link back to that website here in this screenshot that I inserted. So if I need to go back to that website and take a look at, you know, maybe I can't remember what was around it, you know, whatever it may be, I can quickly get back to that link here just by clicking on this link that was placed when I embedded this picture into my note. All right, any questions on the different types of notes that we've covered so far?
Brad, on the audio and video recording choice, do you know the maximum amount of time? Is there a maximum?
I'm not aware of a maximum amount of time. Obviously, the longer it goes, the larger it's going to be. You know, so I would just kind of be aware of that. And, you know, basically, if we have, let's say that we have a audio clip or audio recording that's, you know, 2 hours long. Okay, the chances of you going back and maybe listening to that whole thing are pretty slim. Not you personally, Shannon, but me, anybody. You know, when it's long like that, we won't go back and sit down and listen to the whole thing. The way that I like to do that is by trying to break it up in sections. So instead of having one large file that's, say, 45 minutes long, I would try to do a couple of different audio files and then make notes about what's contained in those. That will keep your file sizes smaller and keep it more direct, both on your audio and your video. But as far as a limit, I don't think there is one. That's something that I can definitely make a note of and try to figure out for you.
No, that's okay. That makes more sense because then you can just record small clippings and take notes for it.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I know me personally, I'd be more likely to go and, you know, check out a, you know, 15 or 20-minute audio clip than sit down and listen to a 2-hour one trying to find the content that I was looking for, or the, you know, what somebody said that I was trying to, you know, find or whatever.
Okay, thanks.
So, okay.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions on the different types of notes? Okay, well, while we have the notes, or talking about notes, I want to talk about, I'm going to revisit this aspect here at the end of our get-together today, but I want to show you the search feature in OneNote. And I think that this, with a couple of other things, are really what make, what made me really attracted to the concept of electronic notes over paper notes. So we're going to start off by searching for text. So we're just going to remember, let's see, I'll use the notes are going here phrase. And I'm going to click outside of this notebook. So I'm completely out of that notebook. I'm in the very first, and I think this personal notebook shows up by default there when you first open OneNote. I'm going to go over here to the right-hand side into the search box. And you can see, again, I am outside of the Thursday morning session notebook. I'm in my personal notebook. Let's say, you know, I remember taking a note about something, but I can't remember where it was. Notes go here. Is that what I typed? Yeah. So you can see the very first option that shows up is the page that we were just working in. So when I click that, it takes me back to this page, and it even highlights the text that I was looking for. Now, it's found some other notebooks that contain these words, but this was the first one, probably because they were closer in proximity to each other than the other ones. These are pretty generic terms, so I can understand it pulling a lot of different pages up here for me. So, the search here is pretty powerful. Not very impressive, being that it's only searching type. So let's get out of this notebook again and clear that search feature out. So now I'm going to search the term handwritten. And we can see again, the very first option that shows up is the page that we were just working in. So when I click that, it's highlighting my handwritten text, and it's returning that in a search as a search option. So it's recognizing handwriting as a searchable element in these OneNote files. Now, to give you a better idea of some handwriting, I've been working on a beef cattle application for Android and iOS, and I have some handwritten notes here that I took with a stylus. So I'm going to go and I'm going to search for this phrase right here, just to show you that it does do a good job of finding elements in handwritten notes. Let's see, what was that called? Let me go back here and look and see what I was. Yeah. Well, it doesn't look like it's wanting to find that. So it's not perfect, but let me type something else here. Get out of this notebook, and I'm just going to type the term. So we can see now that it is finding beef cattle tool, and when I click on that, it's highlighting some of these handwritten. It may not find all things handwriting, and it's definitely going to be relative to how good your handwriting may be. Sadly enough, handwriting that I did on this tablet is probably as good, if not maybe a little bit better than my normal handwriting will be. But the key here is that the search tool is not only going to find your typed text, but it's also going to find your handwritten text. And then above that, it's going to find also, let me just go in here to the search, clear it out, type in real life. Okay, and we can see again, it's finding the page that we were just on. And now if I scroll down, I can see that it returned this real life solutions. I clicked on it, so you can't see that it's highlighted. So the fascinating thing about that search finding this is the fact that this is an image. I did a screenshot, and it saves it as either a PNG or a JPEG file, which is an image file, and then I embedded that into my OneNote note-taking area. But the search tool has the ability to look at all images and find it has text recognition from those images. So if I typed in broke with a question mark or social or any of these words here that are easily readable, then the search tool in OneNote is going to find them. So again, to me, that's a very powerful thing. If you're taking a lot of notes, and if you're like me and you're not maybe the best at organizing your notes, you can't remember, I know I took a note that had this keyword or something in it, you can search that and it's going to find it, whether it's handwritten, a screenshot, or simple text. So any questions on the searching tool? Okay. I'm going to go into just a blank page here and show you a few more things. So the next thing I want to show you is the integration that OneNote has with Outlook. So let's say, for example, that this note here, this note titled second page, I'm actually just going to rename it and IT. So I've got a regional IT meeting coming up next week. And I've got a calendar invite that I sent out to all of my coworkers across the state for us to be able to, or to invite them to the meeting. So let's say that I'm getting a note prepared for that meeting. If I go to my meeting details up here, I'm in the Home tab on my ribbon. If I go to the far right-hand side of the Meetings grouping and select Meetings, it's going to default to showing me the meetings that I have today. Now, I've got both of these trainings today, but I didn't really have any information in there. So I can choose meeting from another day. And the meeting that I'm looking for is actually going to take place, I believe it's next Wednesday. And there it is. So monthly regional IT staff meeting. So if I click that and then click on Insert Details, then it's going to automatically put in my meeting subject, meeting date, the location, the link to the Outlook item. So if I needed to go and actually take a look at that item, I could. It even has all of my participants already listed in here. And then I could take any notes or add any notes here under the notes section. Now the neat thing about this is, let's say that for some reason we need to change this meeting from 1:00 p.m. to 3:00 p.m. If I go into my meeting details tab and select the refresh meeting details for this page, it would go back, check Outlook, and see if there were any changes made in this list, and then come and add those changes here for me. So that will help me keep up with my meeting, upcoming meeting, the agenda or participants or whatever. And further, to show you some more integration that it has with Outlook, if you're a fan or if you like task lists like me, then creating task lists is something that I do often. Sometimes I create task lists within other task lists. So let's say that in preparing for this meeting, I need to, let's see, secure meeting room, let's see, and get refreshments. Okay, so I've got 2 items that I need to do there. If I highlight those just by dragging and highlighting them, and then click on the Outlook tasks and make that for today, then I can see I get these little flags up here. And let me open my Outlook over here and drag my tasks over for you to see it. So now you can see that here are the 2 items that I just added from in my Outlook tasks. So these 2 items I just added directly from OneNote, and they're showing up in my Outlook task pane. So that's pretty nifty there. I can also, let's say that I wanted to get rid of the delete Outlook task, wanted to get rid of those, it will delete it. Again, drag this back over. Because I deleted them in there, it got rid of them here in my Outlook task view. So I can also make to-do list items right here inside of OneNote. So I'll highlight those again and then just go to the to-do tag here and click that. And we can see now I have these boxes here on the side. And if I add another one just by clicking enter, then I can add another task item. So maybe this is a list of stuff that I need to do to prepare for this meeting or whatever. So I have all of these to do things or all these check boxes here that I can mark off as I'm going through this. Maybe this is an agenda that I need to make sure that we cover. Again, I can check these boxes while I'm in this view. And let's say that I get out of this view and I'm in the personal web, and I know that I had a to-do list or some to-do tags that I'd placed on some text, but I can't remember what note I was in. If I click on the Find Tags option, then I can go and see, I can change my search parameters. I'm going to search today's notes, and we can see here that I have my in attendance tags, and then there's my to-do tags. Now, you could change that to search, let's see, search page group, section group, notebooks, all notebooks if I wanted to do that. And when I do that, then it shows me all the tags that I have in all of my notebooks. So you can see there's several here. And I can't remember the name of that one. I think it was this one. So if I click that, yeah, sure enough, when I click the tag item over here, it takes me directly to the page that to-do list item is on so that I can see it. And that would work the same with any of these tags. So if I click this, then it takes me to where I had tagged a question. Now you can see as you look at all of my tags over here, I need to really go through and start getting rid of some of these or marking some of them as complete or whatever, because you can get to where you just have so many, so many tags that it's hard to really navigate. So I would encourage you to go in and take care of that from time to time. But you can see the other option we have here in searching our tags is we can show only unchecked items. So that means if we had a to-do list and we had a couple of things checked off, we could check this box and it would only show unchecked items. So that's pretty neat when you're searching for it and you need to know, there was a to-do tag that I put on an item. Can't remember what it was, but I know I haven't done it yet. You can quickly come in here and find that. You can search by tag name, section, title, date, note text, different things like that. So again, just the very powerful tool. The tags along with just the search feature in OneNote really, for me, take it far and above what we're able to do in paper notes, because you don't have the ability to automate search and things like that in paper notes. So I'm going to get rid of this. Now I do want to just show you a couple of other tag options. So if I'm just typing some notes here and I need to tag something, again, I'm in my Home tab. If I go up to the ribbon and I click the bottom expansion button, here's a list of all the different tags that we have. Some of these I've created, some of them are here by default. So you can get creative and add these items here if you wanted to. You can also customize tags. So you can create your own customized tags, or you can modify a current tag. Like this tag here that says A&R, I modified that yesterday. It used to say when you open up OneNote, if you look at your tags, you're going to see one that says remember for blog. That tag really didn't, I'm not doing a blog, so I would probably never use that remember for blog, so I modified it. So the way you do that is by coming down to the bottom and selecting customize tags. If we wanted to modify a tag, then we would just select one. So I'll go down and let's say I'll select this A&R again. I can modify it. I can change the symbol and add one of these mini symbols. I can have it where when I tag an item with it that the font color changes. I can have it also highlight when I tag an item with it. I can change the name. And when I'm done, I can get a preview of what that looks like here and click OK. If I want to do a new tag, completely new tag, like for example, let's say you're a support staff in one of our county offices and you want to tag, for everybody that works in the office, or maybe you want to create tags for program areas. Going with that program area example, maybe I do one for FCS, change the symbol to, I don't know, I'll just do this little green sun. I can make the font color change automatically when I tag something with that, and I could add a highlighter if I wanted to do that. That doesn't work because that's the same color, but if I did yellow, I'm going to leave the highlighter off because it does kind of look pretty ugly. I can click OK. And when I'm done with that, it adds that in my list. And again, I'll click OK. And now with my cursor on this tag option, I can have it anywhere. I can have it at the end of the line or right in the middle of the line or just anywhere in this text area. When I click the drop down, I can add that tag there, and you can see it automatically changes my font color, puts the little icon there out beside it. And now if I needed to find those tags, I could go into my Find Tags option and find those tags pretty easy where I tagged items with this tag. So any questions on tagging or creating or modifying tags? All right. Well, the other option, and I mentioned this before, is sharing or with by putting these OneNote files in OneDrive, you have a really nice way to share and collaborate on your notes. So a lot of us I know are involved. You know, we're either involved with coworkers in the office on different projects, or maybe it's our monthly staff meeting, or maybe we're involved with agents or support staff in other counties on some projects, and we want to just have a note or a notebook that we can all kind of add notes to. And I'll show you an example of that I've created for our regional IT meetings. But it's very easy to share. And to do that, you click on the File tab here in the top, and we go to Share. And it says to share this notebook, you'll need to put it in OneDrive or SharePoint. And this is, if you'll remember back when I created this note, I had some sort of a problem, and I'm not really exactly sure why I did, but that may cause some problem here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can get this notebook into the right spot. Okay. Okay, well, that fixed it. So if I didn't have that problem, then this is the screen that would have popped up when I went into Share. So I'm in Share now. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. My default is I always use the Get a Sharing link. Now, you can invite people here just by inserting their email address. Okay, I'm just having all kinds of trouble here, but just trust me when I say you can add email addresses here, and then you could add a little message, and you could click the share button, and it would send. You could even require a user to sign in before accessing the document. So that's one way to do it. The default way that I choose to do it is to get a sharing link. And when you do that, and most of the time I'm not just sharing a notebook where people can simply view it. I'm usually sharing a notebook where people can edit it. Either way, it's the same process. You would just click on Create Link. And when you click Create Link, you get this link here that I would just copy and send out through email or whatever to whoever I wanted to share this with. And if for whatever reason at some point I needed to disable that sharing, I could come in here and click on the disable link, and that's going to get rid of it. And anybody that has that link would then no longer be able to access the document. So when you disable it, it's going to remove anybody that has that link from being able to access the document. Also, whoever you share this with, when they open that notebook, they may have to open it for the first time online, but after that, as long as they're syncing their notebooks, that notebook is going to show up in their notebook list on their OneNote desktop application. So it's really neat. It integrates really well. And just to give you kind of an example of what that may look like, I'll go back here to my notebook list, and I'm going to click on my UT Extension Regional IT staff. Now I have this notebook shared with all of the, in fact, if I go to File and Share, I thought you'd be able to see the list of people here that that are sharing it, but I have it shared with with Sean and Colin in the Western region, of course myself and Christina here in the Central region, and with Cam and David over in the Eastern region. So they all have access and the ability to edit these things, and you can see right here in this very first note or the very first screen that shows up, we have some color bars here with some initials out beside it. The first one, it goes by last name first and then first name, or whatever the first name is that you're going by here. So we can see that if I mouse over this, it says Greenfield Brad, last modified on 8/31 at 3:23. I mouse over the MC, and that's actually Christina, and I can see she modified this at 10/12 on September 1st. So we can get an idea of who's making changes and when they're making them. And this happens, I don't want to say real time, but pretty much pretty close to real time. I can also, if I don't want to go through and look through all these notebooks to see changes, I can go into my ribbon up here at the top and click on history, and I can click on in the authors section, I can click on the recent edits drop down, and I can either look at today or since yesterday, the last 7 days, the last 14 days, all pages sorted by date. Either way, I'm going to click on the last 30 days. And when I do that, I get this pane over here that opens up, says search results, searching this notebook, sort by date modified. So I can look at all the different changes that were done. And when I click on one, it takes me to the page and it shows me, I can see here that Cam modified this on 8/20, and it highlights anything that was changed. In fact, he added, he's made, or the entire page list is being highlighted because it's pulling all those different changes, but the notes section over here is being highlighted as having been changed by Cam. Now I can also go and find by author. So if I click on that, then I can see all the names of the folks that are sharing this and see when they've made changes. So you can see that there's some differences happening with Brad Greenfield and Greenfield Brad. So that's some formatting issue. Maybe I've changed it from a different computer or something like that. But either way, that can be not really confusing, but maybe something you want to pay attention to, that it does have the possibility of bringing in some different naming formats. But I can look at all the people that have currently made changes to this notebook and go and actually see what changes they actually made. So it's a really neat way to search, and especially if you're collaborating with different people on things, you can see when they've been active in the note, what they've added, and things like that. So it helps keep things a little easy to read and easy to kind of navigate around. Now, there could be a potential that you're taking notes and you want to share a note with somebody that maybe they're not using OneNote, or maybe it's somebody outside the organization that doesn't have OneNote. So you want the ability to be able to get a note to them without sending it as a shared notebook or sending it as a OneNote file. The way to do that would be, let me go back here to just our testing notebook here. You go into File and then click on Export, and we can either export the page, the section, or the entire notebook, and then we would select PDF. Now you could send it in a Word document. Again, if we don't know if they have OneNote or they're not using it, sending it as a PDF may be the best way to do it. If I clicked PDF here and then clicked export, it's going to prompt me just like we would expect it to save that PDF file on my computer, and then I could just open up an email window and send that PDF to anybody I wanted to, and they would be able to view it. Now, it doesn't have the same format as you would see in OneNote, but it's still very cleanly broken out by pages in each section, so that whoever you sent that to would be able to read it pretty easily. So several different ways that we can share content that we've captured in a note that we've taken. So any questions on anything that we've covered so far? Okay. Well, that's really all that I have as far as the actual OneNote layout. Now, you can imagine there's not really much more we can do, but there's several options you have here. I didn't get much into actually formatting the OneNote area because it's all up to you, the user, and how you're going to use it. I will show you, you can change and add headings. You can change your font type if you wanted to do that. You can change your font size, several different things that you can do. You can also, if you don't like the plain white background, you can go into your View tab here. You can change the view color. Let's add this yellow. And if you don't like the blank openness of the page, you can add some rules to it. So we could make it look like college ruled notebook paper. If we want to do that, you could also do some grids. And, some of this may come in handy if you're going to do some handwriting notes. It may just help you keep your lines a little more even than having just kind of an open area to really write in. So I'm going to go back to just none and no color there. Okay, and before I close this out, just one more feature that I've found is really helpful. If you're like me and you're using notes, let's say you're researching something, you're getting ready to do a newsletter, or you're researching something for an upcoming class, or whatever it may be. You want the ability to have OneNote open while you're doing your research. So I'm going to open up and you don't really have to do it in this order, but I've got this Life Savvy project that I'm working on with some FCS agents here in the region. So I've got this website pulled up. Let's say that I need to take some notes based on some things that I'm going over on that website. So if I go to the View tab here in my notebook, and I click on the New Docked Window option, so if I click on that, then it moves my window over here to the right-hand side. I'm going to click to minimize this OneNote file, and I'm going to open back up my Internet Explorer. And we can see that automatically, if I have Internet Explorer take up the full viewport that it's allowed, it will only take up this area over here, leaving my OneNote file open. So as I'm searching around, I could highlight, let's say I needed to work on this paragraph a little bit. I could highlight that, left click, and just drag that over here. And after it thinks about it for a minute, it should put it in there for me. And again, nothing like it falling apart here while I'm trying to show you guys something. All right, let me go back into my docked view. Well, I've really done it now. All right, bear with me. Let me trying to get this going again. All right, well, I'm not sure what it's doing here, but it is not doing what I want it to be doing. So let me just close out of this and this. I'll close out of everything altogether. All right. Okay, let me sign in over here. Sorry about this, guys. Just bear with me. I knew things were just going on a little too easy for us. All right, I'm gonna move another notebook window over here. Okay, so I've got my notebook back open. I get Internet Explorer back open here. And I'm just going to use this default window. So again, in my View tab, New Docked Window, it's going to do that. I'll minimize my Word or my OneNote window. So now instead of trying to drag and drop, I'm just going to type a note. And you can see as I'm typing this, this is what's called a linked note. So because I have Internet Explorer open over here on the left-hand side, as I'm typing a note here, it's actually a linked note. So when I click out of this, let's say I just click all the way out of it, when I mouse over this, if I mouse over the little Internet Explorer icon, it's going to give me a preview of where I took this note from. So you can see how that's handy if I'm working on, let's say I'm working on the Central Region website, and I type a note. It's nice to have that where when I click on it, it's going to take me directly to that page. So it's kind of similar to what we saw when we did when we inserted a screenshot, but a little bit different still. But I do, the main thing I want to show you here was having the ability to have this window docked over here on the side, and have it take up a section of the screen while whatever else you were working on took up the rest of the screen for you there. So any questions on that? And I do apologize for it kind of locking up on me there. Okay. All right. Well, I will stop my screen sharing now and just go through, again, it's nothing really earth-shattering as far as tips, but it's just some things that I've found that work a little bit better. The advantages to electronic notes, using OneNote over paper notes, I think the first one is just the searchability. When I was taking paper notes, I would have either the small legal pads or the full-size legal pads just full of handwriting and things like that. And you may have 6 or 7 pages from one meeting, and going back and searching all of those pages is pretty cumbersome. There's no quick and easy way to get through searching all those at one time. Tagging also makes it pretty big over the course of time. If I'm, taking a lot of notes on, maybe it's software that I'm practicing or looking at or working through to share with you guys or something. If I tagged everything software, then, if I wanted to quickly look and see anything that I've worked on that had the tag of software, I could do that. And again, in paper notes, it's just really hard to go through and quickly look through all of that stuff. The notes are easily shared. My handwriting is horrible, so if somebody says, hey, can you share those notes with me, that means I've got to go back and retype those notes before I send them out, because I can barely even read them. Whereas with typed notes and things like that, I can send those out without having to do a whole lot of formatting, and anybody can take a look at those. You share them easily with anyone. And simply put, going along the lines of my poor handwriting, is electronic notes are just simply easier to read. If you're going to make the transition to using electronic notes, it's just like anything else. Again, I go back to the idea. I can remember back several years ago when I decided I was going to start using an electronic calendar over a paper calendar. I had to pick a day and just, all right, from this day on, everything that I put in the calendar is going in my electronic calendar instead of using a paper calendar. And that's kind of the same way with notes. Now, you don't have to fully migrate, and there's going to be times where you're somewhere and having your tablet or your computer with you is not going to be the most appropriate setting, so you're still going to have those paper notes. So it may not be an all or none kind of situation, but if you're definitely interested in moving to electronic notes, I think the best word of advice I can give you is just pick a time and just start using it, and then just try to, 14 times to do something before it becomes habit. I don't know. It seems like there's a different number every time I hear that saying, but either way, just kind of forcing yourself to use it. I think you'll see and appreciate the benefits of it after some time. So, folks, that's all I have this morning. I welcome any questions or comments, either in the chat box or here using your microphone.
Thanks, Brad.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. If there aren't any questions, then just jump in, use it. If you get stuck on something or get confused about any aspect of it, then I'm always here to help. Just shoot me an email or send me a message on Skype. I'd be glad to jump in and help you out with it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.